We've already had a lengthy discussion about this, and we won't go over it again. Before you even consider working on the systems, make sure your people and the infrastructure are ready. Let's start working on the technical preparation. It can be done over a period of weeks or even months without ever interfering with operations and business continuity. Whereas the upgrade itself will be a tense and nerve-wracking operation, this preparation phase should be carried out unhurriedly with ample testing and error mitigation. We install the SQL agent assuming it's not already there. The SQL agent provides two key services, the DB service and database agents, which will be needed for the copying and UTF-8 recoding. The agent is installed twice, once on the database host so that it's able to submit queries, and once on the AE host for the DB service. Remember to install the JDBC driver as well. Obviously, both agents need access to the destination database. These procedures are documented. You should clean your system to minimize volumes managed during the UTF-8 migration. Execute reorg and unload, and clean out the monitoring perspective. We create the destination database so that the data can be copied and recoded from the source. Then we configure the UTF-8 migration tool, namely the source and destination con objects and system variables. Then we execute the initial step of the migration, which will take several hours or even days. Once this is done, we'll be in a position to execute successive refreshes to migrate the Delta segments. We duplicate the Automic directories. This is where production components are initiated. This directory might be /opt/atomic or something along those lines. You should create a new main directory, say Automic24. Then you'll replicate your existing production files so that you can work on them without impacting the production file systems. You can also duplicate the component directory if you don't want to create multiple directories in your OS file system, say /opt. When you perform the initial installation, you uncompressed and untarred the install package and installed from a tar file. This file was preserved. It should be removed as it could lead to a faulty upgrade if you use it by mistake. You should also empty all temp directories. Your upgrade directory has no need for the logs, which you can still find in the production directory. You should do this for all components except AWI, Automation Engine, Database Utilities, the DB directory, and Service Manager. Now we're able to copy the version 24 installation packages in their respective upgrade directories. Head to the version 24 install package and copy the tar.gz file for each component on the same level as the bin directory. Then uncompress and untar each file. This is going to generate new bin and temp directories, which will overwrite the existing ones, but with a caveat. Any existing file with the same name is overwritten. Any file that does not exist is created, and the existing files that do not exist in the version 24 install package are left untouched. It's a handy trick that preserves the existing INI files, since the installation package contains .ori.ini files. We'll be able to compare the two. Next, we can configure version 24 Automic components. For this, we use the ori.ini files. We rely on the existing regular ini files reflecting the current version to configure version 24. We start with the utilities since those are fairly straightforward. Copy the ODBC var string and ODBC MQ table settings if you're using SQL Server. In ucsrv.ini, copy the JDBC driver string, set the host name, and establish absolute consistency with the current system name. Take great care in remapping your AE config file to its TLS infrastructure, the key store, passwords, and so forth. When we decide to enable these INI files, we can simply rename the current INI into INI olds. Then we rename the ori.ini files as straight up INIs. Those are now the v24 configuration files. UTF-8 encoding adds new challenges. Our recommendation is to make sure the connection strings that are in the files are in line with the version 24 component requirements. Check the encoding segments and make sure it matches the encoding of the destination database. The next step involves making sure that your new SMD and SMC files are consistent with the existing ones so that the Service Manager operates the same way it did in prior versions. You won't need the full set of processes. At a minimum, you need one WP, one CP, one JCP, one JWP, and one REST. This requirement was added in version 2109, which was fairly recent. Standard libraries libstdc++ and libgcc_s have been externalized to the external resources. They need to be copied in the bin directory of the AE and Service Manager components on Unix platforms. Note that this is only a concern if your native operating system file versions do not meet Automic Automation's requirements. It's a good idea to check the compatibility matrix. Be aware that AWI must match the AE version. AWI works differently. We have a web server. In and of itself, deploying AWI isn't difficult. You simply copy the new awi.war package to the web apps directory of Tomcat or your own web server equivalents. The AWI directory gets overwritten and all your custom settings and plugins are gone. Therefore, you need to back up the config directory, which contains your uc4config.xml file, and the plugins whose names do not start with ECC. Those are found in webinf auto install. You'll proceed with the actual upgrade during downtime. You'll need to copy the plugin from the v24 install package since versions must match. Finally, we'll create a number of test jobs. These jobs need to reflect the reality of your core application jobs. Any specific complexity built into your key business critical jobs, such as an include, should be reflected in the tests. Also, we'll create test queues for the execution of those jobs. This is to avoid using the production queues, which should not be restarted until we're 100% confident that the upgrade was successful. Restarting production queues is considered the point of no return, where a restore is no longer possible.